This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for October 26th around 12 noon. Here's the latest as of the 11 a.m. advisory on Hurricane Sandy. And the system is right near Great Abaco Island, the current feature at Hurricane City. We can get all local cams, radars, radio feeds, and everything else from the affected areas in the Bahamas. And the system is forecast to parallel the coast and then bend back toward the northeastern United States in response to a trough that's going to dig down from the western United States and steer it towards New Jersey and Maryland. And we'll see if that happens and what's left of this system by the time it gets up there. If this wind shear continues to tangle with it, it's going to have problems. But right now they're indicating that the winds are not even mixing down to the surface in the Bahamas. They're getting tropical storm force winds, but no hurricane force winds, even though it is an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. Here is the projected wind speeds. And the red would indicate hurricane force winds moving into Delaware and tropical storm force winds up towards Long Island all the way down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The worst conditions would be Tuesday morning. Projected rainfall up to 8 inches in the Outer Banks of North Carolina and up to a few inches in South Florida. In fact, we've already had a couple of inches here in Delray Beach, Florida. And winds around 38 to 40 miles an hour. And that's been about it because we're only about 160 miles away from the center of circulation, to the west of the center of circulation. So we're not getting any real significant weather out of this system, but it is a big, broad circulation. Here are the all-important intensity models going out in the future. And let's take a look at what's happening with these models. And what you see is the best performers up here, the green and red models, are the GFDL and HWRF respectively, and they've been off by about 14 miles per hour from the beginning of this system on average. And they're projecting that at landfall, this should be right around 75 miles per hour, but the other models down here are indicating more like 50 or 60 miles an hour at landfall. So it'll be interesting to see how much the wind shear takes effect. But the two best performers are indicating this is still going to be a hurricane at landfall. And this is the reason why I believe it may not be a hurricane at landfall, is this wind shear. All this white area up in here, these are all winds around 60 knots north of the center, and Sandy is heading right into that. And then Sandy not only has to deal with that, but it's going to be changing direction. And with the southwesterly wind shear, it's going to really struggle here. And not only that, but it's going to be heading into colder sea surface temperatures while becoming extratropical. So I don't believe this will be a hurricane by the time it gets up there, but it could happen. A couple of models are indicating that that's possible, such as the GFDL and the HWRF. All right, here's the visible shot of our system, and you can see that the system is right near Great Abaco Island. I keep wanting to reference Grand Bahama, but there's the eye of our hurricane, but all the high winds are north of the center. The winds around the Bahamas right now are tropical storm force. They're not really getting any high winds down there, and this system is beginning to spread out like an extratropical system. And the reason is because of this dry air. Notice on this water vapor image, the dry air wrapping into the center of circulation, all the convections to the north. That's going to continue as it moves off to the northeast. Here are all the models using the HurTrack program, and you can see that there's a consensus of landfall between the Delmarva Peninsula and Long Island, New York. The majority of the models are all taking it in this area, with a few north of Long Island up into New England, and the rest of them taking it out to sea. So what I did is I ran 68 models, all of the tropical and global models, 68 of them, and out of the 68, 79.4% want to take it inland between the Delmarva Peninsula and Long Island. Only 4.4% take it north of Long Island, and 16.17% take it out to sea. But keep in mind, a couple of days ago I calculated this, and the majority of the models had it going out to sea, and very few had it coming on shore. So a couple of days can make a huge difference. That's why it's not etched in stone that this is going to happen for the Northeast, but we'll have more information in a couple of days whether this is definitely going to happen or not. Now here is the position, the closest point of approach to South Florida here, which should be later this afternoon. We're seeing about 158, 59 miles away from our location here in Delray Beach. We have northerly winds. In fact, if I show you this camera here, our live camera is showing basically light winds out there. Right now, 20, 25 mile an hour winds, so the streets beginning to dry up. There's everything dries up in between the rain bands, and then the rain bands pick back up again, and everything gets wet. And this will happen for about another 12 hours before the system completely pulls away from the area. But 160 miles away, and we're still getting winds and rain from this system, so it is a large system. Here's the best performing model on this system since the very beginning, the Aviation Ensemble model number 7, and this is taking it up into New England, believe it or not. All the other models, majority of them take it south of Long Island, but this is the best performer, only off by about 61 miles at 5 days, so that is something to consider here in the whole scheme of things. Now, here is the Hurricane Hunter Vortex message reports from the Hurricane Hunters flying around out there right now. Our latest vortex message just northeast of Great Abaco Island. Surface winds 45 knots. That's 55 miles per hour. And we have pressure of 973 millibars. And a maximum flight level wind 73 knots in the northern quadrant. But the most important thing to notice here is that it was a northwest motion. Now it's stopped and we see the system beginning to make that turn. So it's already starting to take place. The expected turn based on the model and the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. All right, so here is the expected time of landfall, and that would be right in Delaware and the early morning hours around 3 a.m. as an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. That's the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Again, that's subject to change after each advisory. All right, let's take a look at the sea surface temperatures out there, and we take a look at the cold waters up here off the New England coastline, and we have temperatures running around 62 to 65 degrees, where this is expected to make landfall. So even if it survives the wind shear, it's going to have a hard time with these sea surface temperatures up here, which is why I don't believe this is going to ramp back into a hurricane once it it takes on this extratropical transition. I don't think it's going to be an extratropical system by the time it gets in there. So we're going to be dealing with mainly tropical storm force winds, tidal flooding, and very high waves and battering beach erosion all up and down the northeastern seaboard. But I don't think this is going to be a powerful hurricane that's going to blow roofs off or blow signs down or anything like that. The winds just aren't mixing down to the surface as we're seeing with the Hurricane Hunter reports. But anything is possible. If you're listening from the northeast, just be prepared to move any loose objects that you're going to have outside that might blow around starting at the beginning of the week. Make your preparations to do that now because things can change. But anyway, I'll be back in a couple of days with another update on this system. We'll see where things stand at that time. Right now, nothing to be alarmed about. Just keep aware and pay attention to your local National Weather Service office and what they're telling you to do and what the conditions are expected to be. And we'll monitor it here at Hurricane City, and we'll feature whatever cities are going to be in harm's way. That's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.